Before the break, the Avs lost in a shootout to the Arizona Coyotes in a game that no one cares about, and a loss that no one should really care about. So, instead of talking about that, let's talk about the Avs season so far.
Alex Newhook!
Oh boy.
Whoa!
With 44 games played so far this year, the Avs are 32-8-4. With 68 points total, they have the highest points percentage in the league by nearly 4%. They can also boast that they are the only team in the league that has not yet hit double-digit regulation losses. To go hand in hand with that, they have the most regulation wins in the league with 25. In the West, no team is particularly close. The Avs have an 8-point lead on the nearest team in the Central, and a 9-point lead on the Pacific leading Vegas. They have the second best goal differential in the league at plus 54, and with the incredible record-breaking streak of home wins, they have the best home record in the league at 22-2. It's not to say they're slouches on the road with a record of 12-6-2. Only one team in the league has fewer losses away than the Avs. With the top 10 power play, their only real weakness as a whole as a team might be the penalty kill. All of this becomes even more impressive when you remember the Avs started the season 4-5-1, meaning in their last 34 games, they are 28-3-3, which is astronomical. On paper as a whole, I think it is pretty definitive that the Avs are the best team in the NHL right now, and they have set themselves up for an extremely easy second half of the season if that's the way they want to play it. They could pretty much play 500 hockey the rest of the year and would still make the playoffs, and if they play to their ability, it's possible they run away with the President's Trophy, or certainly at least home ice advantage all the way through the Western Conference Finals and the playoffs. When you dig down into the statistical numbers of the players, the Avs are monstrous, with 5 players averaging over a point per game this year. 6 if you want to count Devon Toews. At .97, he's just under that point per game mark right now. Cale Makar producing at the best rate of any defenseman in the NHL and is the leader in defensive goal scoring by a wide margin. It seems clear that he's taken that next step into being truly the best defenseman in the league. And on the offensive side, they're led by Nazem Kadri, who has the second highest points per game rate of anyone in the NHL behind just Leon Draisaitl. Production rates are off the charts with the second most assists of anyone on the season as well. For all the rambling about Nathan MacKinnon's lack of actual goal scoring, he's in the top 5 in production per game too. The Avs' best players are just destroying the charts when it comes to the scoring of hockey. Talked about significantly less this year, but Mikko Rantanen with 54 points in 41 games also just crushing, and even Gabe Landeskog coming in with 45 points in 36 games. The Avs' best players simply cannot be stopped. Round that out with very solid years from players like Devon Toews, from Val Nichushkin, quietly getting a decent year out of Andrei Burakovsky, and the emergence of players like Alex Newhook, and the Avs are really just clicking almost everywhere. They even have a number of quality depth options between JT Compher, Nick Aube-Kubel, and Logan O'Connor. The forward side is completely covered, and the defensive side is no slouch either, with Sam Girard backing up that top pairing. All of this over a first half of the season that the Avs were riddled with injuries or COVID issues or other reasons for players to get held out of hockey games. The Avs ranking in the top 5 in man games lost in the NHL. With 30 different skaters and 4 goaltenders, the Avs have seen 34 different bodies on the ice for the team, and it hasn't fazed them at all. The goaltending was certainly not a strength for the first quarter of the season, but in this last quarter up through the halfway point, they have certainly turned it up. Both Kemper and the return of a healthy Pavel Francouz have pushed the Avs and gotten what they needed. While you wouldn't consider their goaltending elite, it has certainly trended in the right direction and has been more than good enough. And before people start talking about the Avs not facing any good opponents in the first half of the season, the Avs have wins against Tampa Bay, Florida, 2 against Minnesota, Boston, and other teams in the West as well. In fact, when you look at the West, the Avs have just 2 regulation losses. One to Dallas and one extremely questionable COVID loss to Nashville. By the way, before you freak out about Nashville, they had a game they beat them as well. It's clear the Avs mean business. It's clear they're a not just playoff team, but top-end playoff team in this league. While ultimately the goal and next step for this team has always been in the playoffs, getting to the conference finals or further, They seem to be up to the task to this point in the year. They currently sit on a 16-game point streak over which they are 14-0-2. And while I'm sure there are still plenty of big games left to play in the second half of this season, it's clear that you cannot deny that the Avs are for real at this point. The season starts back up tomorrow with a big game of the Avs taking on Tampa Bay in Ball Arena, so I just wanted to talk about their season so far and show a bit of highlights. Hope y'all enjoyed. That is the end of this first half of the season review. Be sure to tune in to thednvr.com for all of our coverage. I am Rudo, and cheers.
Avalanche time, come on, grab your friends. We're going to the playoffs again with Nate the dog and Gabe the big. The fun isn't over yet, it is Avalanche time.